Hello, everyone. This is Liz at home today for Freebie Friday. As usual, I'm here to give some recommendations for stuff that is available for streaming for free. You do have to put up with commercials, but as I say, it's almost like watching movies on television again. Only I don't think content is edited out, so there is that. We're going to get started with a few IMDb selections. The first is Star Trek Beyond. So this is the third of the new movies, so the Chris Pine, Simon Pegg, Zoe Saldana films. I'm actually not a huge fan of. Well, first one's fine. I really didn't like Into Darkness, but Star Trek Beyond is a lot of fun. It's a very, if you watched, I'm mostly a TNG person, but I've seen a little bit of the original series. It's a very adventure of the week rather than a something that's directly referencing older films. So I think there's a good mystery around it. Also, I think Simon Pegg is the one who wrote this movie, and he does a good job writing it. Simon Pegg, you probably know him from stuff like Shaun of the Dead. He's a nerd as well. And everyone is kind of, I think, really has felt out their characters now, and it doesn't feel like they are imitating past actors. They feel more comfortable in them. So yeah, a lot of fun. Carl Urban is always great. I mean, he's good in everything he's in. And kind of a sad note, one of the last films of Anton Yelton before he passed away. But yeah, I think Star Trek Beyond, a lot of fun if you want a good sci-fi movie. It's not super serious, a lot of good action. Yeah, total total recommend. Up next, going back to the 90s, a movie I loved when I was in like middle school, high school, Practical Magic. This is about two sisters who are witches and also have some love troubles. So it's Nicole Kidman and Sandra Bullock. They have perfect hair. They have clothing that looks like it's out of a Coldwater Creek catalog. Stockard Channing is there as well. It's a very good time waster movie. It's not it's not like The Craft. There's not like a Hugh. I guess I should say it's like The Craft in that it's witches in modern time, but it's not like The Craft in that it gets too emotionally heavy. It's just like, oh, it's more a little. It's a lighter Witches of Eastwick, if you will. And Nicole Kidman and Sandra Bullock are a lot of fun, and I'm not into that kind of clothing style, but I'm like, man, just every scene in this movie, they look so comfortable. And in the summer where we're looking at 95-degree weather, I'm like, I also would like a nice flowy dress. So yeah, Practical Magic. If you've never seen it, it's a lot of fun. Up next, a great little scene movie by Jane Campion. If you're familiar with that name, probably because of the film The Piano, or if you're doing some deep cuts, she directed the film Sweetie. This is Bright Star, and this is about John Keats and his relationship with just making sure I'm getting her name right. It was Fanny Braun. I almost said Fanny Brown. It's a very well made, well directed movie. Abby Cornish is in it, and I think she's a really good actress, and I'm glad to see you know, just see her. Also, Ben Winshaw, who you probably recognize from the James Bond movies, is in this. It's a nice, well directed film. If you like period pieces, this is going to be so up your alley. It's a nice period piece romance, which there is a whole segment of people who love those things, but I also enjoy this movie, and mainly because Jane Campion is a really good director. Up next to stuff that is on Crackle, the first is a very personal recommend. It was a series I caught on reruns on Comedy Central when I was a like preteen and starting to really feel out like I didn't just like going to movies. I appreciated movies on a, on more on like an intellectual level. I was watching stuff like Siskel and Ebert and reading reviews. And I discovered this cartoon show called The Critic. So this was created by James L. Brooks, and if it sounds familiar at all, or the character of Jay Sherman does, it's because you were a Simpsons fan and you've probably seen the episode where they did the crossover. A Star is Burns, I believe, is the episode. This is just about a show about a film critic who lives in New York, day to day life. It's one of those where I kind of wish it had gone on a little longer, and actually, by the time when it was canceled, the ratings were going up, so I kind of don't know why they got rid of it. But It's very funny. It's a colorful cast of characters. A lot of good voice work. John Lovett's voice is the main character, and John Lovett's is fantastic. You also have Charles Napier voicing his Ted Turner-esque boss, and actually my favorite character is his father, which is Franklin Sherman, who is just a very, very loopy person. But it's a lot of fun. There's also a lot of good spoofs of film. One of my favorites was the proposed Jurassic Park sequel, where the raptors are super smart and create a crude suspension bridge to Venezuela. And as far as I'm concerned, that's the only good Jurassic Park sequel, was that 1 minute clip. But yeah, it is a lot of fun. It's also a very New York show. Maybe that is why it didn't succeed the way other very New York based shows, like let's say Seinfeld and Friends, did, where it is so based in the city, it almost is inaccessible to people who don't live there. But I don't know. I was a kid and I got it and thought it was funny. And hopefully you will too. Up next, a fun, silly comedy called Keanu, starring Keegan-Michael Key and Jordan Peele. So this was kind of when they were still in the midst of doing Key and Peele, their Comedy Central show. And this is before Jordan Peele went full into, I am going to bring back the Twilight Zone and direct horror movies. This is a show, a film where Jordan Peele breaks up with his girlfriend, comes home to find an abandoned kitten, and just loves the cat. And then all of a sudden, the kitten is kidnapped. And turns out the kitten is somehow involved in like a criminal ring with criminal masterminds. It is as ridiculous as it sounds, but it's a lot of fun. Again, one of those. It's the weekend. You want to turn your brain off. Watch this movie. Also, this came out about a year before Girls Trip did, but Tiffany Haddish is in here, and this is her first big Hollywood role. And she doesn't steal the show the way she does in Mean Girls. She walks away. Not Mean Girls. My gosh, Girls Trip. She like walks away with Girls Trip the entire movie. She just takes it and is like, "This is mine." But she's funny in this as well. So I think Keanu is a lot of fun. And finally, I'm gonna recommend a fairly. You are either going to be very interested in it or go, "What the heck is this?" So, if you were an animation fan, the name Ralph Bakshi might sound familiar. He made some good animated films, and he made other movies like Cool World. And Cool World is essentially it's a more adult Roger Rabbit. So there is an artist, he finds out that a world he created is real. Kim Basinger voices like the femme fatale he's drawn. It is a movie that I am not even sure is good. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's not. However, from a technology standpoint and also just from an idea standpoint, it is fascinating to watch. Because the thing about Ralph Bakshi is, even if he doesn't make a good movie, he will at least make an interesting movie to watch. So if you are morbidly curious, check out Cool World. Final three movies. These, I promise, are all good, and they're not, out of Liz's weird stuff grab bag. So the first is It Follows. Yes, it's a horror film, but again, not a slasher. It's not one of the weird Italian ones I watch. This one came out in, I believe, 2014, and it's a very interesting take on, I guess, like a spirit and a curse. So it's turns out if you come in contact with a certain person, they give you this curse, and then you have to find a way to give it to someone else, or you will die. It's an interesting premise, and the execution is really good. And I think sometimes that can save a premise or make or break it in a way. It's also very stylishly directed, and that is something I will give points to a movie for. Up next is Carol, directed by one of my favorite directors, Todd Haynes. So this is based on The Price of Salt by Patricia Highsmith, who's kind of a known queer author. She also wrote Talented Mr. Ripley. Her name sounds familiar. So it's about an aspiring photographer who works at a store and a woman going through a divorce and their forbidden affair. But rather than kind of playing it off as a very tawdry sometimes when film directors make films about gay love stories, they tend to go all in on like shock or being explicit. And this film doesn't do that. Rather, it focuses on the emotional connection that these two have. And Kate Blanchett's in it. And when is Kate Blanchett not a good actress? Also, Rooney Mara's in it. And she is an actress I'm kind of hit or miss on, but I think she is fantastic here. This actually based not only on the story of a forbidden, unaccepted love in set in the 1950s, it would go very well with another Todd Haynes film, which was the 2001 movie Far From Heaven, which starred Julianne Moore, which was also about people who are both forbidden love and people who are generally unfulfilled with the supposedly perfect 1950s. And our final movie of the day is a great little movie that came out in 2016 called Sing Street. This was a movie I think I rented just on a whim, and I really liked it. It's about a kid in Ireland. Starts a music band. He starts it to impress a girl, and he starts to realize he really likes performing. He really likes music, and it becomes a passion for him. It's set in the 1980s. It's got a lot of references to like punk rock and new wave. So the music is genuinely really good. And it's a real crowd pleaser. It's a charming little movie. It's got good music. The young actors are great. Also, if you're a Game of Thrones fan, you might spot a couple of actors in this. But that's kind of watching a lot of British and Irish productions. You're like, oh, half the cast of Game of Thrones is here. Look at that. But yes, absolutely watch Sing Street. We do have that at the library as well. But I kind of tell people, any way you can, watch Sing Street. You will be so pleasantly surprised by it. So that is it for today, and I will see you on Monday with Director Day. Don't worry, I'm going to go back into the normal sphere. No more Italian Gore Masters, at least for a while. So have a good weekend, and stay cool because it's going to be 90 degrees. Bye!